Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining us here today at such an important topic. Not only are we going to talk about the overall video game industry, but let's try to speak on how video game will be redefined for Southern Nevada. We have stakeholders from the video game industry as well as stakeholders from Southern Nevada. We've got county commissioners, we've got assemblymen, assemblywomen all present, and we also have representation from the state. So we appreciate you coming here and starting the conversation on what that looks like for economic development, what that looks like for workforce development. By the way, my name is Catherine Francisco. I'm the CEO of AAPI Chamber. So I appreciate my team, which is the Chamber Foundation, for putting this together. But we would not be able to do this without our sponsors. So I'd like to say thank you to all of them. Our sponsors are Hansei, and that is going to be also our MC tonight, which is Peter and Winnie. Also Divine Events, this beautiful venue and the delicious food was sponsored by Divine Events. Also JP Morgan Private Bank, thank you so much. First time meeting you guys, and thank you for your support. And also DoorDash as well. So somebody told me DoorDash actually has an eSport team or a video game team, is that correct? No? Okay. Yes, okay. Great. So I'd like to acknowledge some people in the room that spent some time with us, and that would be Assemblywoman Felicia. Is she here? Assemblyman Brian Hibbetts. And we also have a representation from Senator Jackie Rosen's office, and that's Julia Coleman. We're going to have a panel discussion, which is the last panel discussion, and that is going to be moderated by County Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, who will be here about 5 o'clock. We just received his text. But also I want to acknowledge my team. So I have Angelica Vallarta up there, AAPI CMO. We have Minja Yan, which is our executive director for the foundation. Right. We have gatekeepers, our production team, which is JR Tolentino. And we have some board members who actually helped us plan this event. Thank you so much to our board members. Ed Thompson, is he here? And Jennifer Lanahan back there. Ed Thompson is with the City of Las Vegas, and Jennifer with Strategies 360. I will introduce a dynamic young lady who gives me energy every single day, makes me work about 16 hours a day. She goes, it's only 5:30, Kat. So, Minja Yan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the AAPI Chamber and Chamber Foundation event. My name is Minja Yan, and I'm the Executive Director of the AAPI Chamber Foundation. And our mission is to focus on building a community-driven, inclusive innovation economy in Southern Nevada. And we focus on 3 buckets. The first bucket is talent. How can we build the talent of tomorrow? How can we prepare the youth, the students today to prepare for jobs that will be around 10, 15, 20 years from now? I spoke to we did a visit at a recent school, the Delta Academy in North Las Vegas, and they have a drone program for their students, and they have a video game student club there. So those are the topics I would focus on in terms of workforce development and building the talent pipeline for Southern Nevada. The second bucket we focus on is industry. What are some of the emerging up-and-coming industries that we, Southern Nevada, should catch the opportunity on, leveraging the existing assets and resources we have here in Las Vegas, We don't have Wall Street here. We might not be able to become the financial capital of the world like New York City is, but we have the Las Vegas Strip, and we are the entertainment capital and hospitality capital of the world. And this is what today's event is about. How can we become the video gaming capital of the world and level up to the next level beyond traditional casino gaming? And then the third bucket we focus on is place, stands for placemaking. After the pandemic, there are a lot of jobs that you don't need to sit in the office 7 days a week, 8 hours a day. And how can we capture these talent who are looking for good amenities, quality of life when they move to the cities that they want to live in? So these three buckets are what form the foundation of the AAPI Chamber Foundation. So thank you so much for coming. I have a very important announcement that everybody cares about. The restroom is right there, right behind you, and the Wi-Fi password. Feel free to mingle afterward at the end of the event. And thank you so much to our sponsors. And now I would like to introduce one of our sponsors, JP Morgan Private Bank, Jeremy Chen.
Thank you, Minja. I'm going to have to push back on that Wall Street comment, though. You have JP Morgan here. That's all you need. That's all you need. Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Chen, and I'm proud to be representing JP Morgan Private Bank here tonight. I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet because I'm sure the last thing you expected to hear from was JP Morgan at a gaming event. So please bear with me. But before I get started in earnest, I'd just like to say thank you to Minja and the rest of the AAPI Chamber leadership team for first organizing this event and giving us the opportunity to once more support the business development here in Southern Nevada. JP Morgan is really happy that we can contribute to this, and we look forward to partnership opportunities in the future. So again, my name is Jeremy Chen, and being here is doubly significant for me because I am a Vegas native. Born and raised, I was born in Sunrise Hospital, graduated from Green Valley High. I am a Vegas kid. But I'm also a passionate gamer. And so when I heard that we had the opportunity to sponsor a gaming event through my job, I was just ecstatic. Because one, I get to support the community that I'm happy to call my hometown and my home. And two, games are involved. So it's a win-win, really. Yeah, you can clap for that. Yeah. But more importantly, I want to say is that not only is somebody that works at JP Morgan, but just generally, somebody who grew up in the gaming generation. I have very fond memories of playing Super Smash Brothers with my brothers, waiting in line on release day for Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, and most recently losing an entire weekend to Baldur's Gate 3. I'm sure some of you can relate. And the reason why I tell you all these things is because I want you all to know that I care about this. This is big for me, and through the resources that we offer at JP Morgan Chase as an organization, I want to make sure that all of you, the people who I'm honored that you're considering to call Las Vegas your home as well, and some of you have already moved in, and I'm happy for that. I want to make sure that the financial resources and advice are there to make and support your dreams coming true here in the Las Vegas Valley. And so, one, I'm here for you as a gamer myself, but please do also know that the resources at JP Morgan Chase are available to both you on the personal side and on the business side as well. And that's all the boring stuff I'm going to say. I'm really looking forward to hearing how Vegas is going to become the gaming hub of the future, and please enjoy the rest of the event. Thank you.
Hello, testing, 1, 2. All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Peter Lamb. I will be your MC for tonight. Hello? Okay. I will be your MC for tonight. I am a realistic optimist on a mission to help content creators make a living doing what they love. But tonight, my mission is basically to help you guys get through all of the panels, listen to all this amazing information, and understand the value of gaming. But this makes me really happy. You know, as a gamer since 2 years old, we've always been told that gaming might not lead anywhere. It's a waste of time, right? I'm sure everybody here who has played games since childhood or even now have heard that, but we see a lot of change. And I think without gaming, I wouldn't get to be here right now. All of my colleagues and friends out here wouldn't get to be doing the really cool opportunities that they get to do now, impacting lives and making really big change that can really be felt in all aspects, not only just the gaming industry. So I'm very proud that this is a thing that's happening, and I'm excited to see what the future looks like. And so talking about the future, let's go ahead and introduce our first set of speakers from XSET. We have Bree Aubrey and Aaron Ashley Simon.
Hello? Oh. I don't know. Is it working? No? Yeah. Here you go. You go first.
Hi, everybody. My name is Bree Aubrey. I am the CEO of XSET. We're super excited to be here, so thank you again to the AAPI Chamber and leadership. Been super excited for this. Previously, actually, from being the CMO of XSET, I was actually at JP Morgan Chase with their sports and entertainment division, and then also working with agencies helping brands connect to culture, lifestyle, and gaming.
My name is Aaron Ashley Simon. I'm the Chief Culture Officer of XSET as well as a co-owner. I have worked within entertainment space for 13 plus years. I've worked in sports on the media and marketing side. I've worked in music industry on the television side. And then now I work in the gaming space, not only with XSET, but as an on-air talent and also a consultant. I've worked with everyone from Xbox to Riot Games to Epic Games and beyond.
Love it. So we are here today to talk about the culture of video gaming, but beyond just the culture of video gaming, really give a high-level view of the industry. But before we jump into that and talk a lot, we wanted to start with a video, kind of loosen it up. So in that video, we saw Ronald McDonald, we saw Pharrell, Louis Vuitton, Adidas. It's really showcasing that there's so many people inserting themselves from a brand, celebrity, entertainment into the gaming industry in some way. It's influencing it. And I think what's super interesting is the nostalgia that comes with gaming. I think everyone in this room remembers a specific IP or character or game that you used to play, and it never really goes away. I'll give you an example. The Super Mario Bros. Movie was one of the top grossing movie in a really long time. In 2023, Super Mario Bros. We all know who they are. The Last of Us. If you watch The Last of Us, which is one of the most viewed popular shows at HBO this year, that was actually based on a video game. From the storylines, the characters, so if you actually play that game, there was a lot of spoilers for you. But it was an amazing show, and again, really impacted and showcased how gaming is within now culture. Oh, perfect. McDonald's gaming kiosks. If you remember back in the day, in the actual McDonald's, you could actually play. The ability that gaming was in actual restaurants was a huge moment, and additionally, something that people remember in their history. And then, of course, how it's impacted marketing as a whole. We saw Chicago Bulls when they did their marketing release this year of their schedule. It was a throwback to the game. Right? We've seen Pokemon Go, where you saw a bunch of Gen Zs and millennials walking around cities trying to catch Pokemon. And then Rocket League, again, huge in the gaming space. Ultimately, at the end of the day, having connections with Back to the Future, an IP that crosses so many generations. We see how gaming is truly impacting culture, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. But what it also is doing, it is specifically changing the way we interact with culture and making an even bigger impact than we ever thought. One being gaming helping influence voting. You see organizations helping impact global impacts, larger scale political discussions, right? You see from a music standpoint, how we're so used to going to festivals and concerts. Well, one of the biggest moments in music history, to be honest, was Travis Scott and Fortnite. It was online. People went online to watch a concert for the first time in a really long time in the Fortnite world. You have DG, which is Dolce & Gabbana, a fashion house connecting with Razer to go beyond just their core products and actually create a gaming chair. You see Halo, an IP and game that we love so much that reaching a completely new audience that's actually on a television show. And then of course F1, which will be in the city very soon, connecting with Rocket League as well. Culture and gaming are one, and I think we're starting to see that gaming is no longer off to the side, but it's in the conversation, and it's at the same table as sports, as music, as art, as fashion. Gaming is involved.
And the reason we're able to see all these crossroads and intersectionalities is because the video game industry is so much different than how it was before, right? Obviously, at the core element of gaming, you have the game developers and game publishers who create and put the games out. But it doesn't just end there. You now have the competitive scene in esports. You have retailers that are taking peripherals and products and selling to the consumers. You have networks where gamers are able to connect with one another. We saw that heavily during the quarantine time in 2020. You have content creators that are now becoming a new media for marketing as well as gaming. And then of course you have events like, for example, EVO that happened not too long ago right here in Las Vegas. And you now, yes, woo! You also have endemic and non-endemic brands that are involving themselves in the gaming space in so many different ways, whether it's sponsorships, whether it's incorporating licensing. The gaming industry is no longer about exclusivity, it's about inclusivity, which is the thing that fuels culture. And so because it's such an enormous industry, it's an enormous market. Just recently, in 2022, it brought in $208 billion. It's projected to surpass $285 billion in 2027. And part of that is because the global gaming community is growing and expanding. It's becoming much more generational. And because of that, you're going to see about 8 billion people who identify themselves as gamers by 2027. Now, the growth of the community base, it's been happening for a long time. How many of you remember Atari? Okay. What about the Sega Genesis and Super Nintendo era? Yes. So as you see, gaming has been around for a very long time, and so there's been so many of us who have been involved in the gaming space in some shape or form. And now it is continuing on with the current generation, which is spearheading some of the other branches and sectors of the gaming industry, like esports. League of Legends is the biggest esports scene, and the championship viewership brought in more people to watch it than the NFL, MLB, and NBA combined. Not even individually, combined. That's massive. But when we talk about esports, right, I know like esports is one of those big words, is the buzzwords, and it really focuses in on the hardcore gamers. But as you can see, there's a variety of gamer profiles that each have their own unique relationship and interaction with video games. Not everyone is playing video games 10, 15 plus hours. Some people want to watch the game. Some people may want to pull up Candy Crush on their phone. Or maybe some people just want to watch creators, and that's okay. And that's why for us, we want to focus in heavily a lot more on the casual gamers. The casual gamers are the people who will play video games, but they also partake in other interests, like lifestyle, entertainment, and fashion as a whole. As you can see, the lifetime of gamer, it doesn't just end when you go to college, when you have to do adulting. You know, that's so fun, right? It is something that expands across. And so 79% of adults engage in gaming. And there's actually a study that came out recently that showed that the demographic that plays the most hours in video games are actually millennials. So as you can see, whether you're Gen Alpha or whether you're baby boomers, everyone is interacting with video games, the video game industry, or gamification in some shape or form. And like I was saying, the video game industry and just gaming has changed overall. The term gaming is something that's familiar, especially to Las Vegas. You know, originally, back in the 15th century, it started with dice and card games and betting. And then it evolved into board games, role-playing games, to arcades. And now it has evolved into the industry that we are seeing now, which is the melting and molding of all entertainment sectors into one. So, my question to you all, are you a gamer?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. How many of you went to see Super Mario or the Pokemon movie? All right. How many of you played mobile games or, Wordle? Okay. And then how many of you have played on an actual video game console? All right. So as you can see, a gamer is not just someone who's sitting down and playing for hours and hours upon hours. It is the term itself is being redefined into something more, where it's more of a holistic lifestyle approach.
Which took us to this, the digital lifestyle. We've always heard the gaming lifestyle. What does that mean? I think there's some stereotypical views of what a gamer is, and I think we all in this room, we defy that at times, So we at XSET, we started to think about, okay, this digital lifestyle, and whether you've chosen to be in it and or not, we are all glued on our phones, we're glued on our laptops, and we have a whole life that lives actually online. We're connecting with people, we're building businesses, we are dating online, we have a whole digital life outside of our real life. So what does that mean, and how does a company, a brand, a city take that to the next level and really dive into that and build a community and even an economic foundation around that? Well, we've seen this before. So specifically, skateboarding, surfing, basketball, streetwear, they all are lifestyle pillars. And what's super interesting about that is if I say I'm a skateboarder, right, and I live the skateboarding lifestyle, something pops in your head, potentially what my hair looks like, what clothes I'm wearing, maybe what kind of shoes I have on, do I have a skateboard, what music I listen to even where I live, where I like to hang out, and what I like to do on weekends. There's a lifestyle that comes in your mind. And with that specifically, brands and companies have also latched onto that and been able to build a community and a brand moment all around that. So from skateboarding, Supreme, Vans. You don't have to be a skateboarder to wear Supreme or brand or Vans, but you connect to that culture. There was something about the ethos, the spirit of that passion point that got you, and now that you're not even a skateboarder, but you somehow have a connection to the community. So at XSET, we started to dive into what is this digital gaming lifestyle, and how do we build a community around that, a brand around that, and ultimately how does it impact things and solve issues or help build up a city?
From a product to just the overall essence.
Exactly. So, XSET, we're a lifestyle media brand driving digital culture forward. And we have a very interesting approach because we were born in 2020. I can't say there's a lot of companies and brands that said they started in 2020, so there's an interesting story there. That's when the world changed, and that was a moment that the gaming industry needed to change. And if you didn't change, you're going to get left in the dust, because it really was a big moment where we learned a lot about ourselves as a society, how we behave, and how we connect. We saw in 2020 that we realized how important technology was and how important having a digital profile and interacting in the digital world was. But at that exact same time, we also realized how important it was for in-person connections. Moments like this that we're looking at each other and being able to connect and have real conversations. But then we realized there needs to be a balance. And that takes us to that digital and that gaming lifestyle that we've talked about, right? Where there's that stereotypical view of a gamer that is sitting on your couch, sitting at home, or behind a screen. And here at XSET, we actually strive to do beyond that, right? It's taking that gaming ethos, that gaming spirit, and inserting that into culture, into lifestyle as a whole. So everything that we do specifically, we connect to fashion, music, sports, nightlife and hospitality, art, mental health, culinary. So we'll give you an example of how this works out really well. So if you go down to the Cromwell, specifically at Dre's, we have permanent gaming booths and cabanas within their event space. It's actually one of the first cabanas to always sell out, and additionally on top of that, for a premium. Showcasing you never thought you would be gaming really at a nightclub or at a pool party experience. So showcasing when you insert gaming aspects into lifestyle and culture, you can get really magic. And when we talk about does gaming work in Las Vegas? Well, when we look at XSET's lifestyle pillars, right, it feels very Las Vegas. Everything that we do and we try to plug in, Las Vegas is the perfect playground, also the perfect ecosystem to take what we know about gaming and what works so well in gaming and amplify what's already here from a music standpoint, from a sports standpoint, from art, from culinary. What is that through line that helps us continue to reach back to this new generation and feed them into Vegas consistently? So how can gaming help Vegas? Well, first of all, let's talk about the science of it, right? Visitors, consumers, people that reach, new fans, new people coming into Vegas. And I think as a whole, there's a science behind it. First, gaming and gambling, or the Vegas version of Vegas is gambling, both trigger a dopamine release. The idea when you walk into a casino for the first time, the lights, the graphics, the ability to lock in and grab somebody's attention. Sounds very similar to video games in regards to you're sitting there focused on a task specifically. There's a mental connection there. But additionally, there are some similarities to a gamer and someone who also would be gambling in a casino. A person that games is actually 4.3 times more likely to bet. So we're speaking to, there's an overlap there, but additionally the same type of, from a psychographic and from a mental standpoint, there's a connection there of utilizing and talking to them and using the same tactics that we see in video gaming. We can click through. Awesome. Also, how it can help is the ability to reach a younger and a more diverse audience, but not also calling back to that we realized earlier, referencing all of the brands and things that the nostalgic memories, it stays with you. Meaning you're never staying out of touch with somebody, but you're always feeding in that next generation. Gaming has never lost in bringing in that younger generation every single time. It's a storyline that always continues. But additionally, what's so great in regards about gaming is what people may forget is that it is more balanced than we think on the gender split. 40% of gamers that are women. The idea that 16 to 34 is the average age of streaming viewers. 68% of global esports fans are under 35. But this is what I love the most in regards to, I live in LA, so everyone always talks about influencers, right? So the type of influencers followed by men ages 18 to 34 actually is 23% gaming, meaning gaming creators, content creators. These are the people that have the voices for movement, the voices to direct traffic, the voices to amplify a city to their consumers consistently. So Vegas can continue to connect with the younger generation. I really reiterate that of think about a passion point that really always is innovating, always is staying in touch with that younger generation. Meaning 10, 20, 30 years from now, gaming's not going to get old. There's just going to be another version of gaming, right? But then you're not alienating any type of audience when you speak to gaming because, there's always a nostalgia that is tied to it. So how do you reach them, right? And how do you bring it to the forefront at the end of the day? So a new age digital marketing. I don't know about you all, but the notifications, the pop-ups, everything, it gets very loud, right? From a traditional marketing standpoint. And what we're seeing is that 73% of Gen Z and millennials are using ad blockers. They're blocking out the noise. So how do you reach them? You have to reach them where they're at. You have to reach them where they're engaged. You have to reach them where they're actually giving and dedicating time and attention to. So reach them at their passion point. So I'll give you some examples of that. In-game implementation, you're seeing brands where it's not a pop-up ad, but you're playing the game, you've sitting there for 2-3 hours, and there are brands being shown in the actual game. branded content, again, huge on YouTube, where you have these creators, these large voices, which again are reaching all our potential audiences, that are creating content that is engaging, that people are going on, subscribing immediately and having those conversations and watching their favorite creators. Live events and activations, again, showcasing what happened if you spent time at TwitchCon, seeing that light up the city of Las Vegas, including us at Dre's on Fridays as well, seeing that light up as a whole. And then one last thing I'll talk about is chat discussions and live streams. From a marketing perspective, I'll give you an example. XSET recently, we just announced a partnership with Clix, one of the largest Fortnite creators. Over 20,000 people stopped what they were doing to log on for that announcement. That's just a smaller scale. So how do you do that, and how do you take that to amplify a city for all the lifestyle events that we've talked about? That people stopped in their day just to hear that announcement. The streamers are having very high engagements, 20, 30, 40, 50,000 people instantly. But additionally, on top of that, the live chats where people are engaging, whether in Discord channels or live chat discussions, to comment on whatever is being discussed at that moment. How do we utilize moments like that and insert it into city moments potentially to amplify what's happening here?
Now, as you grab the eyes, ears, and attention of not only the previous generations and the young generation, you also grab their wallets. From a marketing perspective, we found this great case study that compared New York City versus Nevada in terms of the digital game industry and the revenue it brought in. In terms of New York City, there was a $2 million total economic output. With that, it brought in more jobs, and it brought in more wages, and even some higher wages. And as you can see, New York is currently at 5, and Nevada is right under it at 6. At the top, you see California. Now, why is California up there? It's because it's currently the epicenter of the video game industry in the United States. But we can see that potentially changing.
Rent's too high. That's what
It is. It definitely is. But, the use of video games, it's not just for marketing purposes in terms of, getting the youth and the different generations to spend money, but it's also can be used as a vehicle for success. We see that one of the issues that we see in the education space is the access to technology as well as opportunity. 54% of children need access to the technology required for video game-based learning, and video game-based learning has been increasing in the educational scene, whether it's using Minecraft to talk about the history of a specific era or other kind of gamifications. It's been helping a lot of young people. And with that access, right, it's creating more opportunities for universities and colleges to provide scholarships so that those who may not have access to the technology and access to fiber optics or high-end technology to continue their education, it's giving them that route. And, of course, with increased education, higher education, that means that younger generation will get higher pays, more job opportunities. In the game industry, there's 270,000 jobs, but that can increase. One great example of kind of this system that we're seeing right here is currently I established a scholarship at the University of Kentucky. It's my alma mater. Yes, thank you. And with this scholarship in support of XSET, we utilize it as a way to create access and opportunities for low-income youth in Kentucky and across the United States and internationally. Basically using video games as a way for students to increase, to continue on their education, as well as increasing opportunities and access for technology, whether it's STEM. And the great thing is, like with this scholarship, when we talk about utilizing video games as a success, it's not just about bringing people into the gaming industry, it's also just about making the youth successful at the end of the day. And so this is one of the examples of many scholarships that have been utilized within various gaming programs at universities and colleges across the United States. So, Las Vegas, my question to you all is it the capital of gaming? And then also, is it all of gaming? Well, we have an answer for you all.
Yeah, I mean, in our view is that Las Vegas is the perfect place. And when you think about entertainment and the hub that is here, if you utilize gaming strategies and connect it to everything that is happening in Las Vegas, again, you're amplifying it to a level that no other city truly has ever done here in the US. From an economic standpoint, from a community standpoint, you just see pros on all aspects of it. So in our view, we, here at XSET, we definitely believe Las Vegas can be the capital of all gaming and that gaming hub. And I'm so excited to hear the rest of the speakers and the panels. I think a lot of us here are in that spirit as well, connecting the dots of really why Las Vegas makes sense. Thank you.
Thank you.
So we just talked about kind of the big overview, right? The macro version of esports, video games, everything put together, and the importance of it. So now I would like to transition to the micro, right? With communities and industries, all of that is made up with people. And so I think people are at the heart of everything. This is what we do. We connect, we play together, we enjoy our time. And with that, mental health is a really important topic that I used to not really even think about at all growing up playing video games, and now has become, thankfully, way more prevalent and has become a very important topic for me. So let's go ahead and bring up my friend Alan. There you are. Alan Yeager, to talk about mental health, and we're going to have a conversation about that. I am good on the microphone.
Oh, they brought it right here. Coming up over here on your right.
Hi. Oh,
Yeah.
can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. So hi, my name is Alan Yeager, and I'm a licensed therapist here in Las Vegas, Nevada. And honestly, the only connection to video games is I play games my whole life. And I think they did a great example talking about how to bridge that gap. And I'd love to get into that just a little bit further. So I imagine, why are we talking about mental health and you guys are all here to talk about the growth of video games? And I think it's because I love to be here to talk about things that will bar entry into creating that culture. That what we want to do is we want to be able to grow a space where we can invite gamers, we can invite non-gamers, and we can break that stigma and have a conversation. And so I think what they addressed at the beginning is it's all about community. And how do we reach community? Right now, if you Google things like video games and mental health, what you get hit with is a lot of negatives. You get hit with things like addiction, you get hit with negative symptoms, you get hit with things like playing too much. At the bottom of all those articles are conversations like, well, what you can do is you can be more mindful. And I would love to talk about what that looks like to make sure that we're implementing those things and making it possible to bring video games here and not have a counter movement, not have protests. So with that, where I'd love to start is with events like this. What this does is it allows us to hold the tension, and it allows us to come in and talk about all these positives. But I think that in holding the tension, part of what we have to do is acknowledge the negatives. We hear about the dopamine trip, right? That's how we talk about gambling, that's how we talk about addiction. But the thing is, I don't want to pathologize. I don't want to pathologize video games. What I want to talk about is what leads to that negative behavior, that pathology, so that we can do things to bring video games here in a healthy way. And the where I'd love to start is actually building on what they ended with when we talked about outreach. But the biggest thing that we can do is begin the conversation and hold it. And it starts with inviting events like this, where we're reaching out to people who are in the industry. And the city of Las Vegas for the past 2 years has also hosted things like mental health summits, right? There was one in July where parents and gaming community members were able to come and witness the industry that has to offer and to talk about how to create that balance. Other things that they address are how do we create leaders in those youth positions where we can educate them and talk about healthy use, how we can talk about where addiction grows. And what that looks like is we have esports programs in schools. How are we talking about video games as popular media? Are we talking about video games in schools? When we get to the school, we get to high school, we talk about esports leagues. And if we can bring in coaches, bring in people who we trust to have those conversations, what we can do is dispel some of that confusion, that stigma, or even that miscommunication. Parallel to that, as we talk about programs in schools, we talk about youth leagues. If we can bring community together, what youth leagues have shown is that youth leagues fail because we don't have proper coaching. We don't have people who are equipped to handle those conversations. So if we can create policy, if we can take funding, if we can take these companies, and if we can allow people to support and stimulate that growth, hopefully what we can do is bring in leaders to educate parents, to educate kids, and to hold that tension and continue that conversation. Parallel to that, I love that we address scholarships, but I think they hit the key point. That what scholarships do is it allows some of that tension, it allows some of that, what can we gain from that? It allows us to engage in that conversation. So I know I've kind of speed running the community part, they did a great job with that. What I'd love to talk about is what is addiction and how do we prevent ourselves from falling into it? And out of curiosity, does anybody here not know what addiction is? Okay, cool. So addiction, right, it's just a subset of diagnoses that say that you use something too much. But who's to say what too much use is? Actually, what is wrong? Out of curiosity, what is wrong with a person who might play video games for 12 hours a day? Are they regulated? Do they have a job? Are they taking care of themselves? Are they getting enough social experience? How do we step in and teach people how to balance who they are, to address the roles and responsibilities that they have? So part of what I'd like to do today is, I'm a therapist, I'm not a professional speaker, and if you haven't picked up on that, I'm sorry. But I'm up here by myself. I don't have other therapists to work with me, so I'd actually love to open up and actually have a dialogue with you. As a therapist, what I find my role is to have conversations and to address concerns. And if we could use that space and if I could talk to you about things like addiction, like, for example, some of the things that cross into my space and in my room when I talk about video game addiction, what I'm really talking about is avoidance. What I'm talking about is, why are we avoiding your academics? Why aren't we taking that time to show up, do chores, take the trash out? Why are we giving mom grief? Why are we arguing about these things? Part of what I find is people don't feel successful in other parts of their life. That dopamine drip, like what happens is someone goes and they go to class and they're getting C's, they're getting D's, or they're failing. Then they go home, they pop in Overwatch and they're GM. Where would you want to be? And if we don't know how to address that, if parents come in and just take away the games, what are we doing? All we're doing is taking away something that's providing relief and sticking them in frustration. We're sticking them in that space where all they feel is misery. So if we don't do anything to help people talk about where misery, where avoidance, where resentment, where these negative emotions come from, all we're doing is priming them to get addicted to the next thing. And if we have addiction, then all that stigma comes back. We can't have these conversations. Right? If we want to talk about that dopamine treatment and we want to protect it and we want to stimulate that, we have to make sure that we're also providing the negative end of the conversation and showing that we can hold it. And in mingling a little bit earlier, what I recognize is a lot of leaders here recognize that. And they're displaying the strength that they're going to own this conversation, that what they're going to do is they're going to talk not only what they're bringing, but they're going to talk about how they're going to grow this community and make sure that they bring that communication, that support, and that those offers to the community. So out of curiosity, as we're knocking on these doors, as we're talking about the importance of community, as we're talking about being strong enough to have both sides of the conversation, like community members, parents, guardians, legislators into it, as we're talking about, what addiction is, because addiction is not the object. We can get addicted to anything. We can get addicted to drinks, we can get addicted to food, we can get addicted to working out. Why is video games something that gets so much slack for being addictive, just like other things? So I'm curious, and I'd love to hear. Does anybody have any questions? Is there anything that I can engage you with and talk about when it relates to how we bring good mental health? How do we address these concerns, whether it's a one-on-one space or a community? Because I'll tell you.
You got a question?
Oh, okay.
I guess it's like a comment to what you said. I think when it comes to video games, that overall conversation about addiction, I did like what you brought up in terms of balance, right? Where it's like, where do we draw the line in terms of how many hours a kid can play, and when does it get to the point where it is good and maybe not so good? I mean, I'm a perfect example, right? I used to play 12 plus hours a week, but I graduated cum laude. I was a D1 athlete. Like, I did everything I was supposed to do. I was social. I had friends. So even though I played 12 plus hours a week, I was still very much had a healthy and balanced life. I think overall, is we have this conversation about addiction or about video game consumptions, what we'll start to see is that it's not just a generalization. It's very much case by case, based off of different variables, right? Socioeconomic variables, mental health variables. There's so much more that goes into it. I think that when we have that conversation, like you said, where it's like every kid is different, I think that's when we'll start to really tap into it more. And especially in a positive and destigmatized way.
Yes, and all those variables that you're talking about, I think that sometimes what happens is leaders or therapists or people in mental health really like to convolute what all these variables are. And what it really comes down to is, do you know what your kid's doing? Do you know how they're doing? If your kid is maintaining good grades, they're in a sport, they have good social life, and they enjoy playing video games, what's our worry? That's the issue, is we pathologize, and we put the target on the back of these things instead of sitting down and sharing our worry. And I understand. Little kids don't know how to talk about worries. So we have to be creative. If we want to bring these things in, and if we want to create a healthy environment, we need to be able to step in and talk about these things. How do we talk about, how are you doing? Right? So when we get mad because a kid's failing, are we asking why are they failing? Or are we going, it's those damn video games? Because that's what I got a lot growing up. And same thing, right? I got a master's degree, I'm a therapist, and I will top your 12, and I probably played 40 hours a week.
Are you sure?
Yeah. We can pull PlayStation numbers. I have thousands of hours across many games.
I got you back.
Fair. So, in that, what we're talking about is how do we get to know our community, and how do we sit with them, and how do we talk about how they're doing? I know that we're here to talk about mental health and video games, but mental health and therapy, what it always comes down to is, how are you doing? How are we talking about what's going on? And how are we getting involved to make sure that we can enjoy the stuff that's fun? Video games are fun. And as long as we know how to talk to our kids and the people around us, we can continue to enjoy that. We need to protect it.
All right. Thank you, Alan. So, for the next section, it's actually has a very special place in my heart because it's kind of where I got my start in working in video games and esports. And it's in collegiate. I am a collegiate esports founder. I co-founded Rochester Institute of Technology's esports organization there, and I have a lot of my colleagues here that are going to be speaking very soon about their experiences, and a lot of my colleagues who are going to be speaking about the talent pipeline. So, I won't rant anymore, even though I'm really passionate about it. I have to stop myself for a second, but we're going to get some chairs up here, and I'm going to get my friend Ed to introduce himself so he can help moderate this panel of amazing, wonderful people.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome. It's wonderful having you guys come out to support this event. Like Peter said, Catherine, and the team from the AAPI, it's amazing having this type of support, right? Looking at what the future holds and just having the right people in the room to discuss how we're going to develop and establish a foothold in this community that's going to impact our youth, right? Establishing a foundation. It's about that time that the video game esports industry has that, and especially here in Las Vegas. And I believe, again, we have the right people, but for our subject, we're going to talk about the workforce, right? Creating that workforce, creating those pipelines for the esports industry in Las Vegas, the video game industry in Las Vegas. And I will start with, well, you know me. My name is Ed. And we'll welcome Malcolm Coley up here from Future First Gaming. Then we have Milo. Is Milo here? There we go. The Esports Program Manager at Stride. We have Steve and Sai. And then, I want to say this right. Yay? Eugenia. Okay. And then Eugenia. From Gen G. For those who are esports fans, Gen G is an amazing team from Korea. And if we can have each one introduce yourselves, just what you do, your background.
Hi everyone, my name is Eugenia. I am our Assistant Director of Operations on our education programs here in North America for Gen G, a global esports team with many, many world and national titles.
Hello everyone, I'm Steven Tsai. I'm CEO and one of the co-founders of Futures First Gaming, which is an edtech media and esports entertainment company that uses video games to bring kids, black and brown and women into technology fields. I'm also serving as the AVP of digital platforms and data architecture for the Heart Rhythm Society, which is a nonprofit for cardiology electrophysiologists, those that put pacemakers inside of individuals.
My name is Milo. I have been in esports for 19 years, so I've spent over half of my life in esports. I have gone to school and grew up here in Las Vegas. I've worked for Riot, I've worked for Blizzard. I created UNLV's first esports team. We became the first. We were undefeated in the Mountain West Conference. We're still undefeated. I've consulted and built a majority of the LAN centers that we see here in Vegas right now. And, for a majority of my life, my mission from, when I was 10, when I started, was that, one, esports can be a career path, a viable career path. Two, as I was growing up and seeing and learning more, Vegas could become the esports hub of the world. So that was something that I've been pushing for 9, 10, 11 years now. So seeing everyone in this room just makes me really, really happy. So what I do now, though, is I work for Stride K-12. K-12 is an ed tech company providing hybrid solutions for students that want to be homeschooled. And I run a national esports league with 3,500 students, and I give them scholarships.
Hello, everybody. Hello, everybody. There we go. My name is Malcolm Coley. I am one of the co-founders of Futures First Gaming, and Steve told you guys what it is a little earlier. The Chief Technology Officer of Futures First Gaming. I actually have a background in science. I have a full degree in chemical engineering. So I did a lot of stint. I did a full 6 to 10 year stint in pharmaceuticals. Came to Delaware and switched into soft technology. I'm also the director of digital media for Influencers Lab Media. So I have a full service marketing company as well. But my focus right now is tech, or ed tech, media, and esports entertainment.
Rock Nation.
Also, so you see my hairstyle locks. I actually have the biggest platform for this particular hairstyle. I have 500,000 followers on Instagram, about 200,000 followers on Facebook. I have a hair salon in Newcastle County, in Delaware. A lot of cool stuff going on. Talk to me.
So everybody up on this panel is busy. Basically, that's what you're saying. But with that, my name is, again, Ed Thompson. I'm Workforce Development, YDSI, City of Las Vegas. And what do? I help young adults find career pathways, but specifically in the tech, video game, and esports realm. There's opportunities here, and not just directly with esports and video games. Right, they're the transferable skills. It's a hot phrase, hot topic being used, but truthfully, it's a thing, right? We have traditional sports in Las Vegas, and a lot of our youth are already doing this, right? They live it, they breathe it, they understand it. So that transfer from what they're doing on a day-to-day, on whether it's on their cell phone, whether it's in front of a console or a PC, they understand it. So it's just taking what they know, providing them what they don't know, and then getting them to be a part of this bigger conversation. And with that, you ready for my first question?
Is that directed at me?
I'm gonna direct it right at you.
Oh, absolutely. I shine in these spaces.
So, the evolution of gaming and the esports industry. How has the gaming esports industry evolved over the years, and what opportunities do you see it presenting to Nevada?
Sheesh. So let me give you guys a little bit of context before I answer that question. So 20 years ago, you know, when you were talking about video games were one of those things where it's like, oh, this is going to rot your brain. You're never going to be able to do anything with this, right? I was that kid who spent 80 hours in the bedroom playing Final Fantasy VIII. How many of you guys know about Final Fantasy VIII? The best Final Fantasy that was ever created, right? So we can have a conversation.
7, baby. 7.
See, here we go.
Look
That was on
Gotta get 7.
So with that being said, I was still, with me putting in 100 hours on Final Fantasy VIII, I was still extremely popular in high school, right? But my mom still didn't understand why I was so enthralled and entrenched in this, my upside down PlayStation, because back in the day, my disc wouldn't work, so I had to turn it upside down so that it would read my disc. Right? That's how old I am. But when we talk about, at that time, none of this stuff existed. We're talking about social media. We're talking about iPhones. Like, I could actually talk to somebody through a screen on my phone. Like, we take that for granted every day, but this didn't exist 20 years ago. The same thing with all the opportunities that we have in esports right now currently. So when we talk about, XSET talked about it earlier, right? Nevada, specifically Las Vegas, is going to be the esports capital of the world, right? In our position, myself and Steve, right, we are in a position to have the curriculum and we teach the skills in order to create that workforce that you need that's going to connect the dots between, like I talked about it earlier, the lifestyle, right, the tech, the schooling, the education. There's so many ways that we can connect the dots between just us having a curriculum in a K through 12 space, right? So we have a large opportunity here where we can create that workforce through that curriculum.
Great answer. Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to touch on that? No?
I would say the evolution of gaming, the sort of hardware has gotten smaller, but the opportunities have gotten much more vast, right? You know, when it first started, it was big computers and land-based, and now it's down to mobile, right? And so from a gaming perspective, you know, small competitions, now it's world stage with, you know, Little Nas X opening on League of Legends Worlds, you know what I mean? So the opportunities for you know, the gaming and competitive scene and just the gaming industry is just enormous. As XSET talked about, the economic development possibilities. Where you know, we've seen it evolve, though, is the access potential is also now at, you know, children can access this on a regular basis through those phones, through just the opportunities of selling. So it's become way more accessible to way more people, and that's why we're trying to leverage that for this workforce program.
Absolutely. And then when we also look at that, we want to look at inclusive pipelines, right? Creating lines for the youth, and you guys are spearheading that by having the programmings that you have. But how can we do that again, like Genji, what you're doing? Amazing. And folks don't realize, like, you have an actual high school in Korea, right? And it's like, can you talk about that a little bit? Because I don't think most folks know that that's a thing, and that's something that should be here.
Yeah, I think when we talk about inclusive gaming and creating a community of gamers that hits every note, we're not just talking about the fact that we have our pro players who come up from our high school and our coaching business that are now competing and winning MVPs in League of Legends. We're 3-0 in groups, by the way, you guys are great for us. But we also have the students who are in detention a lot at middle school. They act out in the classrooms and they're told that they have to stay after school, but they don't know how to regulate their behaviors. They attend the social emotional learning programs that we host after school with partnerships with their school, where they are required to sit with us for 2 hours and learn about how to cooperate as a team, how to make friends at school to make acting out a little bit more accessible. Or maybe it's homework issues where they don't understand the content. We can find modules in Minecraft or in Roblox to help teach the content to these students so that acting out is no longer something that they want to do. They want to participate. One of our school districts was able to capture $1 million in additional funding based on their attendance numbers from their gaming programs. You have to go to school if you want to participate in these programs. We've hosted classes like our Good Game English classes at a bilingual school that had a 60% Spanish first school. This means that 60% of the kids are coming to elementary school not speaking English. So how does Good Game English help? Well, it uses, the story of Perseus compared to Pantheon in League of Legends to act as a crutch for teaching the hero's journey. We learn about mythology and story crafting by having them study Wukong, the original Chinese myth and lore, compared to the in-game mythology in the Lore Master's Guide. We also have the students learning the difference between marketing language, social media writing, press notes, as well as in-game patch notes, and how all of those things are a function of English and language that they're using every day. We make learning fun through our programs, and it means that we're hitting the students who are high achievers that know that they want to be gamers or work in the gaming industry as production managers, as sales managers, program managers, as well as those who maybe just need gaming to help create a social safe space for them to learn.
So I definitely think, yeah, please.
No, I was just going to say I applaud everything you're doing because it is exactly needed. Give a round of applause. For Malcolm and I, like we see, the differences between access to quality education and piss poor education. And let's be honest, there are a lot of socioeconomic conditions that are contributing to that, right? So instead of trying to go traditionally through the departments of education or directly through the districts, we went to the state and we went to the labor board and we went to the Department of Health and Social Services because they had funding to try to get programs to help train the next workforce. And so we put together a program curriculum, focused on similar aspects as well. And our students actually can get paid $12 an hour to go through our program for training, or they can do unpaid and earn 6 months of an internship with our company or any of our partner companies. But then we said, let's take it a step further to give them greater access. So we went to our local university and had them review it and credentialize it and offer 6 college credits into any one of their degree programs. So we're doing this to give them a leg up outside of the school, but now the schools are wanting in, and so we're now developing the first 3+1 high school pathway curriculum program in the state. So very good.
Amazing. And that's really setting a foundation, right? That's what this is all about, setting foundations, getting it started from where the kids are that are going to be that next generation of, fill in the blank. Because I know that when I started, I didn't have anything to reference. Esports was so new, competitive video, it's like what is this? Where I had encyclopedias and it's like, where am I gonna find information to grow this, right? So it was a task. But now, we need to look at, especially after the pandemic. So I have 5 boys. Yes, all the U's and I's. And they're all different. Very, 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 very different. And that pandemic sped things up. When you talk about technology, people started realizing that they didn't need people as much. And they have the kiosks now and everywhere. And it changed the dynamics of how things worked. But with esports, video gaming esports, however, which way you want to say it, it provided that opportunity to work with the youth and connect them. I can tell you, like, my kids were talking to folks from here to Korea to India. That was their social construct at that time. That's how they made it through it. Because I couldn't imagine growing up back in the days with a 13-inch black and white TV through that pandemic. I would have lost it. So that was a real help. From the university standpoint, that's your scene. Where do you see the workforce being developed through that?
Collegiate organizations.
Collegiate organizations, right now, when we all started, we're just a group of friends coming together, building a club and building a place for their friends to hang out and grow. but a majority of us here have seen it, the collegiate leaders, have seen it grow beyond that because the opportunity presented itself to learn leadership, entrepreneurship, digital marketing, graphic design, everything. And it's come to a point now where there is a collegiate organization in almost every higher education institute. And from my personal standpoint at Stride, when I look at resumes and when I look to hire people specifically for gaming, if they are part of a collegiate organization, that is an automatic, I will look into this, I will talk to you. Because those are the people that I know will put in the work, know what it's like to start with very scarce resources and find a way to just make it work and build experiences that rival things that people with resources can build. So collegiate is, I think, the best breeding ground right now to really push this whole thing forward.
Also, the beauty of the collegiate scene is that you can take a multidisciplinary approach to esports, right? The College of Business, the College of Art and Design, like all of those different colleges can come together to design a curriculum. And so a student has multiple opportunities to pursue a multiple set of degrees, programs through development of an esports curriculum. So that was the only other thing.
If you don't mind me chiming in, I work with a lot of schools that are currently in the process of developing these esports certificates, business with a focus on esports, sports management, but esports degrees. And how are you creating curriculum for something that is changing every week, every month? You know, at the beginning of the pandemic, how many of you guys remember how crazy Fortnite was? Everybody was playing Fortnite, or Among Us. You know, a lot of people were playing Overwatch 5 years ago. How many of you played Overwatch in the last month? Right. And I grew up playing StarCraft.
Blizzard here.
I love you. But, you know, I grew up playing StarCraft, and StarCraft is something that you just don't hear in common terminology, even within the gaming space. There was not a single StarCraft streamer I met at TwitchCon this past weekend. So I would very much rather these students be building things that they're passionate about, that they are interested in, and that are on brand and on point for what is happening in common culture today, than a business degree that speaks about esports 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, when that information is just no longer relevant. Twitch is no longer Twitch, it's Twitch and Amazon. Twitch and YouTube both decided today that they were going to reduce the amount of fees that they were spending on different events for sponsorships. I think to create these degrees that create generalizations of an industry that's changing every day and is very regionalized, esports in Korea looking very different from esports in London and even here in Nevada versus California, it would be remiss to get a degree in something that I think would be irrelevant a month from now.
I can chime in also because UNLV, I helped create the first esports class at UNLV, so me and Dr. Robert Rippey created the syllabus. And then a year later, I was able to take it for credit to graduate. So I did that. And I think the way UNLV did it might be, full bias, the right approach, where it's not necessarily multidiscipline, but it's under the entrepreneurship branch, where there's an emphasis on keeping up with the trends. And it's also mixed in with, there was no segregation between whichever business or niche market you wanted to explore. So
Just quickly, I would like to say to your point, the certificate and the focus on something that could be outdated tomorrow, it's absolutely right. But a student may have an interest in graphic design and was brought in through esports, so they can go pursue that as a degree or a marketing degree or something else. Traditional, exactly. But using esports as the carrot, sort of as the conduit to that. Yep, exactly.
And then looking at that, non-traditional, one of the things I'm a huge advocate for is content creators. It's a space that, often enough is not spoken about. But, what does that look like creating the pipelines for that? What does that look like for the traditional business to utilize the talent that these content creators are doing? We just had TwitchCon, 3-day event. Over 30,000 guests came to Las Vegas to, share their talents, share their platform, their content that they've been creating. You know, what do we think about that? Because I did a workshop at a church, and we lined up all the kids, and we're talking from 5 upward to teenage, 16, 17, 18. But the little kids, that was one of the biggest options that the kids wanted to do. They were like, I want to be a content creator. And I was like, oh wow, this is the thing, right? It used to be doctor or a lawyer, but a lot of them said they wanted to be a content creator. What do you guys think about that?
I love when students say that they want to be a content creator, because it doesn't mean that they can't also be astronauts, because there are astronauts that stream on Twitch, and NASA has a major Twitch channel. It doesn't mean that they can't be a marine biologist like me. That's what I studied, and you can go to my YouTube and find a bunch of me videos doing gamification with little sharks in the lab. Being a content creator does not preclude you from being anything else that you want to be, but the thing that makes content creation for students so attractive is that you can make money doing something you like right now. And as a 16-year-old who may not have access to opportunities within their local space, how powerful is it that you could do that from the power of your own home? You could do it from your phone, and you don't need anything crazy in terms of equipment. You just need to have the right personality and a little bit of luck. And what that also means is that we can use content creation as a way to teach really, really valuable topics to students. We can teach them how to do public speaking, how to make eye contact with an audience, to speak with people from multiple personality groups, to learn to regulate their energies, and to be a good public speaker, something that you can use in a lot of different spaces. You can teach technology, production, you can teach accessibility principles through it. I love it when students say they want to be a content creator.
Same.
100% agree. 100% agree. For me personally, when it came to creating content, where we're from, there's just not a lot of high-level content creators. I am the high-level content creator, right? Currently, right now, I have almost like 300 videos on YouTube. Like, I got like 15,000 posts on Instagram, right? And the thing is, when kids say, or whoever says that they want to be a content creator, in my mind, content for me connected me with opportunities. I told myself yes to putting out the content. And also, one thing that I always apply upon with the children, or just anybody in general, I'm not limiting it to kids, right? Creating content took the fear out of my entire ecosystem. I don't know what the word fear is, right? And when it comes to me creating my content, I'm in a position to put out anything, anywhere, anytime. When the lights turn on, Malcolm turns on, right? So being in a position to just eliminate fear has helped me and helped us, Futures First Gaming, to just go to levels that we didn't even think were imaginable. Like I was telling you guys earlier about my hair care brand, Lock Nation. I created so much content with that particular brand, and it put me in a position to partner with some of the biggest hair brands in the entire world. I don't know how much you guys know about natural hair, but I've partnered with all of the top natural hair companies in the world. Why? Because I told myself yes to content. So when you tell yourself yes to content, you could literally put yourself in places and situations for opportunities that you would never imagine.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, this is the end of our panel, but I really like to thank you guys for the input, sharing with our crowd here today that there's opportunities, whether it's in the video game, esports sector, or even content creation. That's the next thing, right? If you tap into the content creators, you will notice and see how fast and how large, like how your message will expand directly to the source. So. Again, thank you so much.
All right. Thank you, Ed. So we went from having a whole industry overview of video games and esports as a whole. We went down more focused into mental health and then building career pipelines just now. So let's now look into the future, where we look for what is going to be Vegas as a gaming hub. And to kick that off, we have our moderator, Clark County Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, to help us out here. So, hello. And I will introduce the rest of the speakers. We have Julio Abarca, Chief of Staff at Streamline Studios. Stuart Saw, CEO of RTS. Greg Selko, CEO of XSET. And then Quinn Wageman, partner at Triple Point. Thank you everybody for being here. This is going to be a really good panel. Here you go.
Thank you so much. I guess we'll go ahead and start. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself, I would just say that start with, I get real nervous when it's all men up here. So I'm not sure where Eugenia went to, but please stick around because what you said is very important and we need to show that everybody can participate. Go ahead, please.
Hello. Hello, everyone. My name is Julia Barca. I'm the Chief of Staff over at Streamline Studios. We've been around since 2005, and I'm a Vegas native, born and raised.
Hi, I'm Stuart Saw. I'm the CEO of RTS. We're a talent management and talent ventures firm. We co-own Evo with Sony PlayStation.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I am Greg Selko. I'm the CEO and co-founder of XSET, gaming lifestyle media brand. Will Eddins, who had to take a phone call, but he was sitting next to me there, he does exist, is a Vegas native and lives in Las Vegas. He's my co-founder. And then you guys obviously saw Bree and Aaron crush it. That's Tim. He's our head of sales. So we got the whole crew here.
Check one, check two.
Hi, I'm Quinn Wageman. I am a partner at Triple Point. We are the premier video game agency focused on public relations and strategic communications. I've been in business since 2002, represent many great clients in the business on a national level, including Blizzard. By the way, Overwatch is killing it right now. And Pokemon Company International, we helped launch the Super Mario Brothers movie, consulting on Paradox Interactive, Quantic Dream, lots of really cool stuff we're working on. But yeah, I'm here to sort of talk up as a transient who moved here a number of years ago about what I'd love to see in Vegas. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, and appreciate you having me.
So I'll kick it off by asking each person, or at least whoever wants to speak up, about Las Vegas and their role. But I would just say this as someone growing up, we obviously are the gaming capital of the world. Now we're becoming the sports capital of the world. And it seems like gaming and sports fits together with this industry. I was at the Evo conference here a couple weeks ago and really opened my eyes when I saw that Michelob Stadium full with how many 1,000 people. Then there were hundreds of thousands of people watching it too. So just it's phenomenal what's there. But it just seems to me that Las Vegas has all the attributes and all the resources necessary to be the national or international hub. But I would be curious to see what each person thinks, and then more importantly, what can we do to enhance that? Do we have enough internet capacity? Do we have what are we missing that we need to do to go to the next level? Who wants to start?
Okay, I think as a Vegas native, I would love to see Vegas transform into that digital future hub of not only video games, but all entertainment. So we're already well on our way with sports and all the stadiums we're building. We're bringing in a lot of new teams. However, a lot of kids aren't necessarily playing those sports. They're more involved in your video game aspects. They want to do esports and stuff like that. And they don't necessarily know what is actually available to them beyond being a gamer or, doing content creation, engineering, things like that. So I really want to emphasize and work with, the youth and help create and tailor the curriculum so that students actually know more about content creation beyond just being on streaming. They should know all the other aspects, like, we have finance departments, we have production, we have, QA departments. All of these different facets or avenues for students to start working their ways into the games industry. So I really think that the city should work on providing more curriculums to address all those different avenues, because also in those different avenues, they also use a lot of new technologies, new SaaS tools. So it's good to start getting them trained up on how to actually run finance and things like that for a video game company where you have 300 plus employees, or figuring out how to run the logistics between multiple countries. Like, those are really key things those are transferable skills that can go to all these different areas. And I think that that's where we could really focus in by developing those curriculums with the NHSE and with the college.
Would it even start in high school or even grade school?
I would start it as young as K through 5. I think it's important to get them adapted to not only the technology, but their brains are like sponges, so they absorb all this information. They'll be some of the best programmers, but we have to give them the tools and the technology in order for them to achieve that.
And I'm not sure if EVO will be appropriate for high schools, but just watching that, it seems to me that we should have leagues, if we don't have leagues in the high schools, and have tournaments and state championships. Those are the kind of things that would really raise the profile of the sport and again attract the type of people you're talking about.
I'd certainly say so. I mean, so if you're not familiar with EVO is the world's largest fighting game tournament. It takes place here in Vegas. It's been taking place here for about 15 of its 20 years existence. And we have 44,000 people come through the door this year. Economic impact on the city of Las Vegas about $44 million. And so it's a big tentpole once a year. But to your point, it's once a year from that perspective. And EVO this year, the theme of EVO is all about celebrating the locals. The fighting game community is built on thousands and thousands of local small events that take place in arcades that then go up into slightly bigger venues and slightly bigger venues. And EVO is the end of that kind of annual calendar of locals all the way up to regionals, all the way up to international. So those locals should start at a young age. They should start with the facilities that schools offer, or that smaller venues that exist in the area, and providing resource for locals, providing the expertise. The previous panel about collegiate esports is 1,000% correct. The skills that you learn building out the collegiate esports programs are the skills that then go on to help the professional esports programs there afterwards. So I'd say there's in my day, I started in esports in 2004. It was 0 and it was 1. Now we're starting to get some steps in, and we need lots more steps to build up our industry skill set.
So I have a different sort of perspective than the other folks on the panel, although obviously we love esports. We have IDOM, who's one of the best fighting game champions in history. But, my background, I actually have a master's in public policy from Harvard with a focus on urban planning. So I look at it from a urban planning perspective in terms of beyond just the events, that I think you touched on a little bit, and beyond just sort of from a sporting perspective, from an esports perspective, which is a big part of gaming, but still, we talked early on about gaming as a culture, gaming as a lifestyle. It goes far beyond just competition. And so what I see for Vegas, and where I think you guys can really, hopefully us guys, because we want to be part of the next.
And women too.
And women. Guys, I mean in the broad sense. So is that, there are other cities who are claiming to be the gaming capital of the world. Saudi Arabia is putting a huge push there. Dubai is putting a huge push there. Places in Asia. But I think, so you may not even win on that. As mighty a powerhouse as Las Vegas is economically, you may not even win on that case. But what you will win on, and will ultimately be the winning formula, in my opinion, is building a community around gaming. So building places that gamers and content creators, which we talked about, want to live in, places with good public transit and good workspaces and great internet connection, and things that are going to get, not only are these large events going to come to town because you're already set up for that, but the day-to-day folks that are creating the culture, creating the lifestyle of gaming, you want to get them to say, hey, there's no other place I want to live in Las Vegas, because they understand us and they're helping us build our own community here. And I think you'll easily attract folks from California who have a lot of issues from taxes to transportation to cost of living that Vegas already can beat them in. And then if you create the community, you create the hub for these folks, you guys are going to really, I think, excel and say, hey, look, we want this community here, and we're going to help you build it.
So speaking of that, is there a community that you would emulate? When you talk about community, what are you saying actually?
Yeah, so I mean, I think the communities that if you look at San Francisco and you look at Silicon Valley, which has a fair amount of gaming, Los Angeles, I actually frankly don't think that they've created sort of the cultural hub yet for gaming. Right? I think they have, just by sheer force and the size of their economies, they kind of got it by default. You guys can get it by doing things like, building affordable communities where, you're encouraging folks to come in and invest in the smaller folks who are developing the games. Now, they may not wind up being Activision or Blizzard, but there's going to be a lot of them starting. If you create a hub where there's, cheaper space, walkable communities, as I said, like live workspace. The city is also encouraging, investment from microfinance to helping smaller folks, content creators and other folks get started on the grassroots level. If you build that organically and create that organically, it will start to grow and will attract some of the larger investors and the gaming brands who say, look, I want to go where the talent is, right? So really focusing on keeping the UNLV students here and developing their technology, their gaming here in Las Vegas. And you can do that by both setting up, areas that have a lot of, creativity, but also walkable, have, independent businesses. Some of them what you're kind of doing already in downtown Las Vegas, which is becoming sort of like a, like a Brooklyn feel or sort of a hipper feel. And I think, welcoming that community and providing places for those folks to live is a really important element.
Thank you so much, and I'll get to you in just 1 second. But I just want to reiterate what you said, because to me, what's our problem? We don't have enough air. We don't have enough water. What is an industry that doesn't take a lot of air, doesn't take a lot of water? I mean, this is a perfect industry for our little town here. So exactly, and a lot of solar energy out there, so it's bringing a lot of electricity. Right.
Speaking of which, we've been seeing a lot of ghosts on town too. Yeah, I'll touch on a sort of a different thing. I agree with all you guys are saying. I mean, there's high school programs that are going national now. Obviously, Ed, shout out to Ed, by the way, all the hard work that he does and what he's been doing for the city. There's possibly more we can do to kind of tap out there. I'd love to see more travel out to the other cities. One thing that I always recall is seeing Louisiana's representative at GDC every year, like talking to developers and saying, what do we got in Louisiana? And they built a little bit of a hub. All the incentives they offer, we have incentives too. So just a matter of just kind of getting that budget to travel, do the biz dev, hit some of these conferences that I think would be interesting. For me personally, I've had a family here over 2 decades. I finally made my way for many reasons. I absolutely don't regret. Love this city so far. And the first thing that I did was look up the local IGDA chapter. They're so important to the industry, especially for a lot of startup studios who are looking for common ground. And is anybody here from IGDA? Organizers or even members? There you go. So case in point right there. First of all, we're here, right? That's the first step. It's the fact that we're meeting in person and having these conversations, meeting like-minded folks. I think the IGDA is a conduit to that as well. I mean, shout out to the AAPI pulling this together and everybody else. For people new to town, like IGDA is that thing. It is national, it's organized, it's established, has been for decades. And I'd love to see a little bit more tie-up there. What are they doing? How could we get involved? How can we bring all these organizations together to help spread the word and bring attention to a games industry here? I know 2 handfuls of people that have moved from LA, Bay Area in the last 2 years who are senior executives in the games industry. I mean, heavy hitters. And they should be here, should be getting together at the local WeWork. What are we doing to incentivize more young talent to come up there? Maybe subsidizing a desk, where we can get together, have a speaker event. Love this venue, by the way. There's all sorts of things we could be doing on common ground as people, especially coming out of the pandemic. We want to see each other again, shake hands, and share ideas. And so this is a fantastic start. Let's keep doing this and reach out to some of the other organizations and build more partnerships around that. Because I think it lifts all boats, and I think we can work towards building a better awareness and bigger awareness for the Vegas games industry.
Thank you so much. So Las Vegas, the great thing about Las Vegas is it is an international city. You mentioned the name, and everyone around the world knows about it. We're having F1 coming here in a couple of weeks. Hopefully, it doesn't destroy the town to save it. But again, that's an area where the gaming industry would not impact the roads, would not impact all of our lives. But the other thing we haven't talked about yet, is the sphere. I think the sphere really sets us apart, and so hopefully there's a way we can take advantage of that. Does anyone have any thoughts about taking advantage for the sphere with gaming?
Yeah, I would say from an Evo perspective, we actually almost had to leave Vegas next year because we couldn't get it in. We solved that problem, fortunately. And more venues and infrastructure are key. Gaming events, gaming as content, gaming as esports, bringing developers in to talk. It's all content. It's all out there. Basically anything now is something that people want to consume. The sphere is a massive opportunity to make that engaging, to tell the story in a different way. There's so much more that you can get through that shared experience. So I would say the sphere is huge. I'd say more convention space you have opening up is great. And then the other thing that I think is key is the convention centers in Las Vegas are huge. And finding that middle ground for something that is half the size of it, or something like that, so you can get its foot in the door, because it goes from very small venues to very expensive venues very quickly. So something like that that's a sphere-like or something along those lines where people can test new content concepts will work as well.
I actually just thought of an idea. I was brainstorming while you were going there. And you can have this one for free. So how about there's probably more screens in Las Vegas than any other city in the world. Why not do a huge 3-day event where you have all the different games being played on the different screens, because you can do it, it's just a screen. And then the final game, the final championships are played on the sphere where everyone can watch it, and you can actually play the game on the sphere. So you asked specifically what you should do with the sphere, that's what I think you should do.
Very cool.
I was part of a really, speaking of Atari, represented Atari for a number of years, back when I was in LA, and we put the largest game of Pong on the side of the hotel. And it was in Kansas City, of all places, because that was a hotel willing to do it, celebrating their 40-year anniversary. I mean, I would love to see somebody code a game on the outside of the sphere and enter that in the Guinness Book of World Records, which is what we do with Pong. What have we seen so far on the outside of the sphere? Who's buying up these ads?
Xbox.
There's Spider-Man recently. It was Xbox right before that. You got potential client maybe doing something soon there, so keep your eyes peeled. But it's no surprise. That's how big games are. There's so much money, and the eyeballs just being on it. We're serious, and all eyes are on games there. And that's one thing that we have. I got my career started out in New York. I did some other stuff before I got into games, following my passion. Joined Triple Point back in 2007. Short stint in LA. Had a hell of a time trying to get people to drive to come meet up for a mixer. New York, bar, sure. Open bar, come on down, let's talk games. That was a thing. San Francisco a little bit more, but it just got so expensive. Everyone turned into commuters. Our office was in the city. And, Vegas, people are willing to get together here. And so, everything's close. It is a short drive, or at least a short Uber. And I think that is one thing we have to our benefit. We have the infrastructure of, where's Abe? I met Abe earlier. See, I'm the PR guy. I love to give people shout-outs. Abe, for HyperX, we got this amazing facility. I had my agency retreat here 3 weeks ago. Brought my entire staff from, it was only 20 of us. But we hosted it here in Vegas. And we had a night out at HyperX and played Smash Bros. And we got to get some VR headsets in there, by the way. We do work with Meta. Shout out to Meta for Quest. There's a lot of cool stuff that's already here that we can lean into. The Sphere, certainly. I can only imagine what kind of game event we could put in there. I took my wife and kids to go see the Earth film, which is really cool. And I don't know, what are the creative minds in game development going to do, either on the outside or the inside? And we also have HyperX, and we've got casinos invested in esports teams and incubating and getting behind the industry. I don't know. That's something I haven't seen in New York. LA's got its thing, mostly the business and the talent. It's Hollywood. I think it just kind of spills over into games. That's why we've seen so much success there. But we're very close to that. And that's another thing that I love about Vegas. And I see a lot of people coming in from LA. What was it, 5,000 in August, for better or worse? But I think there's a lot of talent in that as well. And I think they're looking for a home. I think being here looking at ways to bring that together is something that my mind's aware of.
I'm really excited to see the technology inside of it, even the demo. I haven't gone to the live one yet. I've been out of country, but I saw it in Burbank, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what types of interactive experiences they're going to be able to create with all the different sound zones that they have, and just that the size of that screen it changes immersion completely. So it's going to be really interesting to see game design specific to those types of brand experiences. Like about a year and a half ago, we worked with Intel, and we used 5G technology to broadcast our video game Bacon Switch. We used Intel 5G to broadcast our game Bacon Switch on Times Square, and people, if they had a copy of the game on their phone, they could actually play on Times Square and with their friends. So those types of things, like we have the tech, and it would be really cool if we could implement it inside of the Sphere and see what all the visitors and all of our locals can create with those experiences. I think that would be fun.
The other thing about Las Vegas is, we specialize in regulating sports and gaming. We have a great infrastructure as far as we know how to control slot machines and all that stuff. So we're way ahead as far as that goes. And to me, that's where we get into the competition. We have the technology and the skill sets and the agencies to do that. I noticed that yesterday, the last couple of days, the agency the Nevada Gaming Agency, which regulates esports, now so they're not going to make everybody a drug test. So I think that's a positive as far as you don't have to worry about being drug tested if you're going to play a game. So I think we're about ready to end up. So if anyone wants to add a few words just about why Las Vegas is so important and what we can do, I know these group of people are very eager to get going and make some money off of it too, probably.
Well, yeah, I guess in part, I think another thing that I find interesting is, we've got Aristocrat owns Big Fish. We've had other casual game studios that are incubated and invested in by the big casino businesses. Is anybody here from Skills? Their office is like 2 doors down from here, by the way. Skills, venture-backed company doing skill-based mobile games. Really interesting stuff. Frankly, I think it's a newer office. I don't think they're originally established here. They were in Boston. So yeah, there's already a foundation there. I think there's coders, there's engineers, there's game designers that they're here, and there's already some talent that I think to be tapped and to support. I guarantee they're itching to start their own thing. To your point about just even thinking about regulation, and we had earlier conversation about mental health and addiction. Especially when we're talking about opportunistic mobile games and free to play. Like there's some sketchy stuff out there that we need to be aware of. And I think we are in a position as Vegas to have that experience to sort of educate and lead the way. And on a national stage, not just in Vegas, but whether it's opinion editorials, call up Dean Takahashi Adventure. He loves that kind of stuff. What can we do to get up on the GDC and give a speech on how to better sort of govern our industry, so that we're not then attracting scrutiny at the highest levels of the federal government, as a scapegoat, unfortunately. Some of it's warranted though, right? We really do have to look at what we're doing as an industry and the boundaries of monetization and those types of just issues that we just have to be aware of. And I think that's really what makes Vegas special. We've got the history and I think the expertise to lead that way. It's a matter of just drawing everybody out and getting them in this room and keep at it.
Yeah, so, in conclusion, I definitely think you guys are already ahead of the curve, right? Just having this event today shows that you're thinking in a much larger scale than a lot of folks who are thinking about gaming as purely like sort of a job creation, economic development tool on a very industry-based level, where I think, clearly there's a lot of innovation happening in Las Vegas when you're thinking about what is Las Vegas going to become. It's a developing city. You now have professional sports teams. There's plenty of folks who come here not to drink and not to gamble, but to see shows or to go see an exhibit. And so gaming fits in great because it has a competitive piece of its sports. It certainly can spur lots of, conferences like TwitchCon. There's a huge entertainment component around content creation, and it's really, you have the opportunity to be the new Hollywood in a lot of ways because it doesn't require you being in California anymore to be a celebrity or an influencer or someone who's creating content. You can do it on your own, you can do it from anywhere, but if you make it attractive, they'll do it from Vegas, right? If they say, hey, this is where the talent is and this is where I want to live, and by the way, I feel good here because the city of Las Vegas wants me here, and you can provide studio space and do events at different venues where we're encouraging folks to start gaming businesses here. So, gaming touches sports, gaming touches music, gaming touches travel, gaming touches, dating. And so coming in with that kind of lens and that broader lens as it being sort of not only an economic development tool, but a place to create planning and attract talent, I think you guys, regardless if another, city or another country spends more money, if you take that approach and you take it where you're saying, hey, look, we're going to put our flag in the ground, say we are going to be the gaming hub of the world. We want your conversation, we want smart people like the folks on this panel and the other people that spoke to be part of the conversation from the beginning. How do we build a future gaming urban community? I think you guys are going to be surprised how excited the gaming community is that you're wanting to do that, because I don't think anyone else has taken that approach. It's been very much a piecemeal thing up until today. And it's the evolution of gaming that built Las Vegas, right? Gaming is going to be more and more a part of everyone's daily life.
So I would say that this is a great first step, but as you go forward, gaming is actually the wrong word to think about. Because gaming is bigger than music and movies combined. It's too big. So when you guys tackle sports, you realize we need an NFL strategy, we need an NBA strategy, an MLB strategy. You broke the task up into many different, verticals of gaming. And I think to go for the planning next, it needs to be a plan for esports, which is not the same plan that it is for content creators, that is not the same plan that it is for developers. Each one of those customer bases is slightly different in terms of how to know them to the city. Their needs are different, their wants are different. Not everyone actually wants tax incentives. Everyone would like them, but not everyone needs them. Just accessibility and being able to talk to the city and understand all the resources that are already there from the city is level one that certainly doesn't exist in most cities in the world. Understanding that this is there for them, because there are elements of our industry that are passion rather than profession, and we don't realize that there are cities that want to nurture that passion and turn them into something. So I would say, centralization is great. Raising the flag, as all the groups have done here today, to make an event like this possible is great. But next is, segmented expertise per vertical within the games industry.
The only other thing I would add on to that is going to be your education and youth development programs. You guys, the city of Las Vegas, the state of Nevada can offer all the incentives in the world, and we can throw all the money at it because we have the casinos industry, and that's great because of what they provide to us. But that's not going to grow the talent. That's not going to keep the talent here if we don't have the programs to help educate the youth. So we need to make sure that we are starting at the youngest possible ages and getting them around the ideas of being content creators, being esports, professionals, being video game developers, being, quality assurance professionals, things across the spectrum. That way that there's opportunity for them to transfer between jobs within our own local economy and help sustain that GDP growth.
Thank you so much. I would just issue a challenge to the AAPI Chamber to work with me and work with other elected officials to let's take this into the grade schools, into the middle schools, into the high schools here in Las Vegas, and start that base that you're talking about, because this really is the future, and I don't see anywhere like Las Vegas that's really perfect for this industry. So thank you so much.
So now we're going to open up the floor for about 15 minutes of Q&A. Anybody want to go first? Oh, there we go. We got one there.
Hi, my name is Jason Newland, and I'm the CEO of Valiant Games and co-owner of Nobi Gaming. I work with a lot of celebrities, and we just recently went viral with Sonic Fox. If any of you guys are familiar with Waka Flocka, Sonic beat Waka blindfolded, and so we got over 250 million views within about the first 4 days. I'm also on the board of Blackfire with UNLV for the Business Leaders of Las Vegas as kind of an accelerator. So I'm wondering if there's people here or how we would go about kind of creating success stories where UNLV is trying to help us right now. It's a very new relationship, but they're trying to help us with some of our companies raise money so that we can then use our celebrities to kind of shout that from the mountaintops to let people know that Las Vegas is a gaming hub for founders, for gamers, for esports. So I'm kind of wondering like what the resources are and how you guys can kind of help us help you and create some of these win-wins.
I would say to start from particular funding in games itself within Las Vegas. Evo has an India area, and it was co-owned by PlayStation. PlayStation are always scouting for new games, but we actually have a number of the big publishers that come by, looking to see what's being played, looking for data, looking to meet founders in that space. So, from a networking perspective, that's one layer to it. And then I think one of the points you raised earlier in terms of how to get everyone together more frequently and centralize the games industry is most important here, because where there are founders, where there are game developers, there will be investors, there will be marketeers. So some form of central game development meetup and so on is also kind of crucial.
Thank you. We have another question over here.
Hey, hi, yeah, my name is Paul. I'm with Gilzer Architects. First one quick comment. I saw the Atari Hotel, which was the opening slide for, I believe, Bree and Aaron's presentation, which I love to see that it's diffusing into the culture, because that was all about taking gaming and bringing it to life in a physical way, which this panel has sort of touched on. So I wanted to drill in a bit on what Greg was talking about, actually. What is Vegas missing in terms of sort of urban planning or the built environment? Think like lifestyle, holistic communities. Why aren't we competing with LA? What do you guys think is missing?
Yeah, so the question is from a built environment and sort of urban environment or the living environment. So, first of all, it's awesome that, as you're an architect, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, so I think we didn't touch on that, and I think that's great. Architecture is also a big part of how we, we meaning the city of Las Vegas, project the fact that we're serious about gaming, because, I think, organically you have all these screens, the idea how we could play all over the city, you could have a festival, but you could also be building, gaming facilities, not just arenas like the HyperX arena, but places where people can create content, places where people can actually live watch content creators or have interactive spaces. And I think, so let me break it into two thoughts. From a tourist perspective, from a strip perspective, you could be implementing more gaming, even doing gaming themed hotels, casinos, and figuring out clever ways to work gaming into the architecture, whether it's inspiring it or it's functional, right? So that's one thing. And then I think from a talent perspective, in terms of getting the next generation of game developers and folks who are going to create the new economy in gaming, or attracting content creators to live here and set up shop here, I think you're going to need to build more dense areas that feel urban, that I go back to the term walkable a lot because I think it's super important. I know there's challenges here with the temperature and the climate, but there's clever ways to design around that, with mist or shading or plantings and other things like that. And I think you need to have community squares and places where, in both a digital sense, so, you talked about the city of New Orleans, they're building a virtual New Orleans right now, right? So doing something like that where you could say, hey gamers, design what the next section of Las Vegas is going to look like from your perspective. What do you want? We'll do it virtually first and then we'll build it, right? So I think the architects and designers and urban planners need to be at the table because it's a quality of life thing. If you're going to get the creative folks who want to be part of gaming, you have to design for them. And those folks, generally speaking, like dense, exciting, diverse. Diversity is also a very important piece of people living together, different cultures. Those are the communities that they want to live in. And Vegas has some of that. I think downtown, warehouse districts, live workspaces, again, all that stuff needs to be planned.
Hello, my name is William Horn. I'm VP of Strategies 360. Commissioner Segerbloom mentioned about Nevada's, expertise in gaming regulations. We're robust in that industry, regulating gaming. But what have you seen in other jurisdictions in the country where they've actually made mistakes in trying to regulate and ended up stifling the growth in a gaming hub or not? So mistakes that should be avoided.
So I would say from an organization perspective, gamers essentially don't like to be regulated, particularly on the esports side. No one likes to be regulated. But when traditional sporting agencies have come in and tried, it's almost always been rejected. So the Olympics have tried various things and have kind of been laughed off because the Olympics all this audience's sign of what is good. Esports in particular has innovated tournament formats beyond what the Olympics can innovate with on its current scale. So then that raises up. Every year you get 1 to 2 years we get some new governing body of esports that comes along and kind of gets locked out of town, and they end up having to use games that need the money rather than games that are part of the core industry. So from that perspective, I would say from a sporting organization, sporting federation regulation side of things, it's been very, very unpopular. What I think you guys do in Vegas differently that I think is important is the element of gaming on top, of Vegas gaming on top, and how to have authenticity and how to have legitimacy where there is gambling, where there is wagering. And right now that is still kind of the Wild West in this kind of industry. So there is a world where if the Vegas Authority comes in and kind of understands the nuances of this industry and why it's very different to sporting, where it could be very valuable.
One quick comment on that, which is, I think what I've seen generally in the industry is that people are trying to use a paradigm that's a paradigm like professional sports or gambling to go regulate something or think about something. The leagues where they try to have these regional teams, gaming is worldwide. It's not the same concept. It hasn't worked that well. And I think one of the things that where Las Vegas could make a mistake is trying to over-regulate stuff. I would say, unless there's a need for regulation, there is no need for regulation. Other than the wagering part of it, the competitive part of it, which of course needs. Other than that, I think the idea would be to have as little regulation, as possible until such time you understand completely where the regulation belongs.
Yeah, I would say we could probably all agree that the community is going to regulate you. Step over the line in monetization. You can, of course, forget that and just make your money, go global, user acquisition all day, and have a shitty game that makes a lot of money. But at the end of the day, you make mistakes and don't pay attention to the community, your audiences. Just core fundamentals, right? You're certainly going to get that backlash. So I think as an industry, because we are so deep and interactive with our customer base, I agree with you there. I think there's things we can learn in terms of how we can play nice, with those that are concerned about maybe how some game mechanics and monetization works. But at the end of the day, it really is about your community, what they want, where they enjoy their time in, and listening to that. Certainly you see that every day in the industry where they don't listen to their community and faulting them.
I have a question. I'm sorry. My name is Brendan Parker. I'm a former Las Vegas Raider of 6 years and current owner of Ball and Esports. We're training esports training facility, and I'm hearing you guys talk a lot about the community and trying to get us involved. And I feel like that's where we come in. We just opened. We're a hub of about 41 computers, also a streaming room that kind of helps bring the next generation. You know, we're trying to get into the middle schools, the high schools, the kids that kind of help cultivate them for the EVO stage, the HyperX, the grand stages. So my question is, how do, a company like ourselves kind of partner with the big dogs in town, like, obviously your EVO, your XSET, your Triple Point, to kind of, bridge the gap, I guess?
Yeah, just real quick, this kind of maybe touches on a few of the questions. There's a lot of marketing power focus and attention on, of course, consumer engagement. I think, me personally, from a business side of things, as a trade guy for coming up on 2 decades now in the games industry, like, we need to be, these guys still read. Like, we got to go out, we got to get these stories written about what we're actually doing on the ground. It's gamesindustry.biz. We got to work with Dean over at VentureBeat, Game Developer Magazine. Like, what are these opportunities and things that we're doing on the ground here, and getting some of these more in-depth stories about, the financing that's available here, the incentives. How are we sort of facilitating both community engagement as well as trade engagement? Like, what are we doing with our peers in the industry to get business done, and what success looks like, what's failure look like, all those types of things. I think there's work that could be done there. Say, up in the Bay Area, that was something that was frequently done by some of the esports teams and the facilities that we're developing. Certainly New York, media capital, the games industry itself, frankly, I think we could be pretty close to surpassing. If we really work together over the next 10 years, I think that is a real goal. LA is a whole different level, but we're close enough to it. I think we can capitalize on that. So I don't know. I think there's a lot of storytelling that could be done, not just consumer level, but as peers. And that was my point earlier about just hitting these conferences, doing the biz dev. We are Vegas representatives. Here's what's going on, and telling that story in all forms.
Yeah, I would just say that's all good points, and I'd say like on a micro level, we should talk afterwards and see what XSET can do with you guys, because I think part of our brand is not only social good, but also bringing the next generation of gamers into gaming and hopefully helping create careers. It helps us as well, and so I think any sort of facilities that are training the next generation, we want to help them. So why don't you and I talk about it?
For sure. And same for us, we'd love to learn more about your facility. One of the things Evo has to grow into is, right now we have 3 days a week in Vegas, and we want to be more than that. The 3 days a week in one venue, and it's there. We're not much of the fabric, and so that's one of the things we're trying to work on, and so we'd love to catch up.
Closed mouths don't get fed. So, something I tell everyone when I go to networking events, GDC, Gamescom, wherever, is especially when I'm speaking to kids who are just fresh out of college and they're trying to figure out how to get in the games industry, don't be afraid to ask. That's how I got my foot in the door. I went up and I just shook a guy's hand and I'm just like, hey, I would love to work on the games that you guys work on. How do I get in? How do I partner with you? I own a business. Just open a conversation, but if you're not out there willing to talk to the people and engage with them at their events like GDC or something, then you won't be able to break in. So it's something that there's a lot more of us that are willing to have the conversation. We just haven't been approached by individuals like yourself.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh no, I'm sorry. That is it for Q&A. But I just want to thank everybody because we're running out of time. I apologize. But thank you, everybody. Please give them a round of applause. Take any closing remarks before you hop off?
Just, it's very exciting. As I said earlier, to me, this is so perfect for Las Vegas, given our gambling background and our new sports involvement, and then the fact it doesn't use water, doesn't use very little air. So what could be better? Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right. Hello. There. All right. Hi. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that. That was all of the panels, all of the speakers. I saw everybody taking notes. I think This was a really big learning experience for a lot of folks here. Probably like an even bigger brainstorming too. Like we're all kind of learning and brainstorming together, and this is just really wonderful. So I hope everybody enjoyed it. Now to close it off with closing remarks, we're gonna re-invite. We're gonna re-invite Ninja up here to help us speak, along with. I'm sorry. Yeah, please come up.
Thank you so much, Peter. Thank you so much. Are you okay? Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone, for coming today. And this is the kind of events that the AAPI Chamber and Chamber Foundations host. I grew up in Las Vegas. I'm a millennial, and my background is in commercial real estate, and I teach part-time at UNLV. So I go to a lot of the business conferences about economic development, about workforce development. And as a millennial who grew up in Las Vegas, I really want to see our city to get onto the next level, to go after the knowledge economy, the innovation economy. And I'm so happy. Shout out to Clark County for passing the Clark County Innovation District Master Plan 2 weeks ago. And there's a lot of bright future and bright opportunities that we can capture on as a community. And shout out to the architectures, friends back there, Gensler and Greg, about urban planning. When we look at economic development here at the AAPI Chamber, we look at it as a triangle. Talent, business, and place. Stands for placemaking. How do we build a vibrant, high-quality places where people would like to come, work, live, and play? And after the pandemic, where every city is chasing after good talent know where they want to live in, based on the amenities they choose for their cities. Walkable urban places, that's very important, especially in a place like downtown Las Vegas. They have the 2045 downtown Las Vegas master plan. So for our next event on November 21st, we're going to talk about transformative placemaking, what's next in the Southwest. And we'll have a developers panel that talk about all the up-and-coming developments happening in the Southwest. And we will have our friend Ed Gensler to come to talk about how are these amenities in our community enhance the urban living style. So thank you so much, everyone, for coming. Now, to close up the event, I have to invite Madam President Catherine to come up to say a few words.
Thank you, Ninja. And thank you, everyone, for attending today. I know that you guys had, most of you had long weekends with TwitchCon here, and you stayed a day extra for us. I also want to thank Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, and we will take that challenge offer that AAPI will dedicate itself in investing in the future, and we do believe that technology is the future, and video games is one of them, and it makes sense for it to be here in Southern Nevada. I love hearing placemaking. We're definitely on that. And we love to hear the workforce development and youth development program. We've actually been completing our blueprint in reference to that, Commissioner. And we're excited to actually work with you and all of the county commissioners and present it and to see if it's viable for Southern Nevada. Valhalla was the co-owner. I'd love to connect with you at the end also as well, and let's see how we can partner. The youth is seeking for it. We've actually have been boots on the ground, and we talked to many youths, and they said, we really want technology, because that's all they know, right? They're on their phones 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and they're very, very smart at it. So we want to support the next generation here at the AAPI Chamber. And we do know that one of the upcoming industries would be in technology. Another one is sustainability also as well. So thank you everyone for spending time with us tonight. And this is the first of many conversations, but we are here to be that conduit between stakeholders of your industry, stakeholders of Southern Nevada. Let's make things happen. Thank you.
Reception time. Oh,
The next event was what Minja had mentioned,
Yeah,
which is
November 21st.
Oh, yes, Wani. Wani is here. I'm sorry, Wani is here. When is that, November 16th?
Yes.
November 16th. I'd like to introduce Wani. Wani is one of my favorite people. Here at AAPI Chamber, if you guys don't know, we are actually an approved SBDC Center, which is Small Business Development Center. So we truly are a one-stop shop for all of your business needs. So we can help with anything. And we are the fiscal agent for SBA. So I wanted to introduce Wani, because Wani was the state awardee for SBA Small Business Owner of the Year this year for the state of Nevada. But she also was able to go all the way to the finals, which is the national in Washington, D.C. And she actually met the vice president, who actually did a social media feed on their meeting on her feed, on her social media. She posted it. And Wani is the owner of Mothership Coffee. She went through the SBA program. And, you know, there are a couple of key words within the AAPI Chamber. One of, you know, our favorite word is access, right? We want to be able to provide access within our AA and HPI community. We want to be a resource also as well. That's why we partnered with SBDC. In addition to that, we want representation. We are the second largest minority group in Nevada, and we are the fastest growing. So we want to be able to be that platform to support them, because as they move here, I'm a Bay Area girl, and they're moving here from the Bay Area, they're moving from California, they're moving from all over the world. They're also starting businesses. They're seeing the opportunity that Southern Nevada is giving them. And Wani actually went through the SBA program. And how many locations do you have now, Wani?
We have 5,
6 locations of Mothership Coffee, and you know, the best coffee in town. I have to say that. I'll say that. She actually is sponsoring an event at her St. Rose location on November 16th, and I know Minja did this, so I can say this. It is called Sweater Weather Social. So please, if you have time, come and join us. It's from 4 to 7, and it's a great networking event. If you think this was a powerhouse networking event, you know, this is sort of an example of what our events look like also as well. Another person who kind of snuck in on us is a representative from Senator Catherine Cortez Masto's office, which is Hector. So we could just say hi to Hector. Great supporter, just like Commissioner Tick Segerbloom, great supporter of the AA and HPI community. We just recently did a roundtable with the senator just last month also as well. So thank you, everyone. There is networking session for about an hour. I just went to that corner and there's plenty of food. Please enjoy the food, have some drinks, meet the speakers if they're still around, and let's continue the conversation. Thank you.